AITA for going on my phone for an emergency at my best friend's wedding? I don't even know what to think right now. My best friend since childhood got married last weekend. She had an unplugged wedding. An unplugged wedding is where you don't go on your phone at all. I totally respect that and might even do it for my future wedding. The entire morning of her wedding was beautiful, and the ceremony was unforgettable. When the reception began, my sister called me. I didn't answer, but was confused why she was calling me because I told my family to not contact me since it was no phones. She blew my phone up, sending me around 70 calls. It got to the point where I had to answer. My best friend is usually understanding, so I thought she would be okay with this. My sister told me my mom was in an accident. She's okay by the way. Only a concussion. Someone saw me on the phone and told my best friend. I went to go find my best friend to tell her I had to leave and she yelled at me for being on my phone. I explained the situation to her and she told me that wasn't an excuse and I could have waited till after the wedding. I left immediately. Not only because of her stupidity but because I also had to go to the hospital. She's texted me and cussed me out telling me that it wasn't that hard to not be on my phone. A few of our friends and her husband also called me names. My family is saying I'm not the a-hole, but I can't help but feel bad. I also don't think this is worth losing a lifelong friendship. She was like a sister to me. Also for context, I was not a bridesmaid. She didn't have any bridesmaids. NTA. You were right to answer your sister's calls about your mom's accident. That's definitely an emergency situation. It's a bummer that your friend didn't understand and got upset. Even after you explained it. Maybe give it a little time for everyone to cool off. Then try having a talk with her about what happened. It's hard when a long-time friendship hits a bump like this. But honest talks can sometimes clear the air. Just take care of yourself too. Dealing with family emergencies and friend drama at the same time is no joke. NTA. First off, it's usually unplugged ceremonies, not through entire reception. You said the ceremony was unforgettable and noticed the calls at the reception, which means you didn't answer or even look at your phone during the ceremony. Therefore NTA. An unplugged ceremony, yes. An entire wedding, no. There are probably a bunch of parents who left kids at home with a relative or babysitter. What if a kid had an emergency? Would she flip out? So NTA. Why do brides think that every edict must be followed despite extenuating circumstances? I used to be a wedding photog. This drama moment doesn't surprise me at all. You were right to answer your sister. No one calls that much unless there is an emergency. Glad she's okay. NTA. Your mom was in an accident. You went to the hospital. Your friend is not the center of the universe. And you didn't disrupt her wedding from what you describe. You want to save the friendship, you say. So you're sorry you had to leave, handle a family emergency. But it was necessary. That's it. And maybe downgrade your friendship a little. Your BF lacks empathy and is self-involved. I understand an unplugged ceremony so there aren't stray cell phones in the photographer's shots, but an entire wedding day with no phone usage is aggressive. This bride is the awe. Your mom was in the hospital. Also, who the HLL is the narc who saw you on your phone and immediately ran to tell the bride like it's the second grade? NTA. Drop kick the bride, groom, and all their friends to the curb. NTA. It's a wedding reception, not the king's coronation. Your friend seems like she's the controlling AH in this situation and she owes you an apology. NTA. I could have waited till after the wedding. The wedding was over. The reception had just begun and it was an emergency. I also don't think this is worth losing a lifelong friendship. Her behavior was over the top and selfish. The fact that she's not only doubled down on that behavior, but also has sent her flying monkeys after you to harass you and call you names says everything about what kind of friend she truly is. TBH. You're better off. Edit. A word. Reading the comments and people saying unplugged equals phones off makes me never want to attend an unplugged wedding. If the rules of being unplugged are simply phones down, no pictures or videos, no texting, etc., then that's reasonable. Strictly restricting all use of phones for the entire morning, and maybe longer, is insane. Do people understand that phones are not just entertainment devices? NTA. There were already over 70 missed calls. It wouldn't be that many if it weren't an emergency. Your friend is a selfish aw. Some people, such as this bride, are going to be really surprised when they find the center of the universe and they aren't it. NTA. NTA. The asshole in this story is the person who ratted you out. You don't really mention how far away you went before taking the call. I assume you went out of sight. Taking emergency phone calls has to be okay. Just take the call in a sequestered place, so to not disturb the wedding. But that person that saw you take the call, and went to tell the bride, what a proper asshole. They didn't know what the call was about, yet they decided to escalate. That's the person who decided to turn this into a disturbance of the wedding. NTA. But your friend's behavior is about the only suggestion I could have made about handling it differently was to perhaps make sure you were somewhere private when you took the call, against the rules. Unplug this friendship. Your mom being QT the hospital because of an accident is more important than her wedding. NTA. NTA. And please dump this friend like yesterday. Disgusting to think someone finds their wedding is more important than your mom being injured in an accident. Horrible. NTA. Concussions can be deadly, some can be debilitating. You were right to leave. NTA. Real, genuine, actual emergency. And thankfully your mom wasn't hurt badly. I hope she recovers soon. Supersedes bride's wishes. I can understand why a bride would desire an unplugged wedding. But one wonderful feature of cell phones is that people can be reached in an emergency. My mother once told me that when her father, my grandfather, was hospitalized in pre-cell phone days, my dad and uncle were traveling and the only thing she could do in an attempt to reach them was call the state police in every state they were driving through in hopes they would be spotted, stopped, and informed of the emergency. No one reached them, and my grandfather passed away while they were traveling. They arrived at their destination, called home, and had to drive back immediately for the funeral. NTA. I get wanting people to not be distracted at your wedding, but this seems pretty excessive to me. You had an actual emergency. Honestly, if I was invited to a no-phone wedding, I wouldn't go. I have a little girl, and there's no way I would leave myself uncontactable in case of an emergency. Your mom was in a car accident and your friend didn't consider that a good reason? What? In what universe would that not be a valid excuse? NTA. NTA. Wedding princess mentality is toxic. Life doesn't stop around you just because it's your wedding. It was an emergency. You didn't know how bad it was. Even small concussions can hide significant health complications. And while part of me goes, sis, just text 911 mom in accident callback now, so you could see it, without picking up. Not everyone can stop and process like that when they're in a panic. Hitting redial until it works and you pick up is the pre-wired route while they do whatever else they need to. If your friend and her friends are harassing you for answering a call about your injured mother, they need to check their priorities, and I would put it to them that plainly. Your mother was in an accident and you needed to go to the hospital. That is not something that could have waited. That they are being aggressive and invasive over this is incredibly disappointing and questions how much they care about your relationship beyond you being an obedient NPC to their world. NTA. The number of calls you missed let you know the urgency of the call. And it was. If your friend can't understand that, sadly perhaps this friendship has run its course.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic AITA is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.